Welcome to Thursday night YouTube Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon in the US, and I am so glad that you have joined me tonight. Thank you. It is a beautifully sunny day here in Oregon, and I have had some fun today creating a treat box for you. So let's go ahead and see if we can see who's on before we get started here. Open up that chat box and see who's here. Welcome, everyone. All right. So tonight we are going to continue on with the Gallery Blooms. I did use this bundle from the brand new 2025-2026 Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog on Tuesday during a Facebook Live, and I posted that replay over on my YouTube channel right here for yesterday morning. So you can go back and check those projects that we made. And today I wanted to focus on making a treat box that Mother's Day is this weekend, and I thought maybe you could give to your mom, you could give to a teacher for Teacher's Week, you could give to your friend for a birthday, or whatever you want to do. So we're going to make a little treat box using these, primarily this bundle. I actually have quite a few things that we're going to be using. I'm going to introduce you to the paper tags bundle. Actually, the paper tags dies is really all we're going to be using, and we're going to be using this one right here. It does come with a stamp set if you choose, and this is the stamp set, and you can bundle that and save 10% off of the individual prices. This is an online exclusive that was released on Tuesday for the May 2025 online exclusives. So I'm going to be using that die. And then we're going to be using the Unbounded Love bundle. And I'm not sure if this is still bundled or not. I'm not 100% sure about that. So you might need to buy those separately. This is a 25-piece sentiment set. And then we're going to be using this die right here for our sentiment label. Okay. And then we're going to be using some stamps from the B sets and elements of text as well. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. Our color palette for today, Pretty in Pink, Peach Pie, Secret Sea. We will also be using a couple of the in color Stampin' Write markers. And let's go ahead and grab our supplies. So, as far as cardstock goes, we don't have a lot. We have a piece of Secret Sea, and this piece is cut at 8 inches by 8 5/8 inches, so 8 inches, 8 5/8. Then I grabbed a piece of the mixed media florals, and this is the piece that we'll be using. Okay, I haven't cut that yet. We will be cutting that down. And then I've got some basic white cardstock to stamp on. And then I've already die cut the dies, that die from the Unbounded Love, which comes like this when you use that die. It cuts both pieces at the same time. We're going to be using them both, but we're going to color this one. I like to do that so I can just cut once. Of course, if you want to, you could die cut it once in the white and then another time in the Secret Sea. Or I guess we're using boho blue, and that's why I'm if you have boho blue cardstock left, you could cut it with that, or you can use the Stampin' Blend alcohol marker, which is still available for purchase. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our stamping done before we start on the rest of that. So we're going to start with this piece and this piece. And on this larger scrap, we're going to stamp the large floral image. And we're going to do that in Memento Tuxedo Black. Okay. So let's go ahead and stamp that down. And then we're going to set that aside to make sure it's nice and dry while we do the rest of our stamping. Okay. We're going to grab some scrap paper here, bring in, and this piece of cardstock I've cut at 2 3/4 by 4 1/4, and we're going to actually die cut after we do some stamping. So we're going to start with these are actually the bee bodies from the Meant to Be stamp set and the Be My Valentine stamp set. When you get these, there's a small, medium, and large. So if you just had the one, you could use the large and the small. I happen to have both, so I'm going to use them both, and I'm going to use the small oval and the medium oval. And we're going to do some stamping off for this. So we're going to start with Pretty in Pink and the smaller oval. Okay. And I'm going to stamp off, and on, off, and turn my stamp. And I'm just going to randomly stamp on there. Okay. And then we're going to take the medium size oval. And sorry about that, I wrinkled you. We're going to take the large oval, or the medium oval, the medium B, and we're going to, again, we're going to stamp off. And randomly stamp on. And it's okay if we overlap. I'm not so worried about the center so much because that's where our flower is going to go. Okay. So that looks pretty good. And before we finish this piece up, we're going to bring in Secret Sea and the splotchy stamp from Elements of Text. It's this one that has the fewer splotches, but this is a larger cluster. So we're going to be using that. And again, we're going to ink that up, stamp off once, stamp off twice, stamp off once, stamp off twice for this, stamp off once, stamp off twice. Okay. And let's do it one more time up there. Okay. So this is going to be our background piece. let's set that aside and we'll die cut that in a minute. And let's go ahead and color our flowers. And I already colored these and die cut it, so you didn't have to watch the whole process, but I do want to show you what colors I used and how I did the flowers. So hopefully you can see those. Let's see what's in the photo. Let me move this out and we'll put this in. And this is all of the colors that we'll be using. This Daffodil Delight we won't be using because it's almost out of ink and this is my new one. Okay, so we've got Pretty in Pink, Peach Pie, Daffodil Delight, Granny Apple Green, Boho Blue, and these Stampin' Blends are still available. They're on the last chance list and they are reduced. And then we're going to be using 3 of the new in colors from the Stampin' Write marker collection, which is this right here. And we're going to be using Strawberry Slush, Darling Duckling, and Secret Sea. Okay, so let's bring that back in. Move our pieces out of the way here. And I'm going to show you how I started this. So I'm going to start with Strawberry Slush. I'm going to take my Stampin' Write marker. I'm going to take the brush end and I'm going to flick up some color here on the artist lines. And where the petals overlap. Like so. Just getting in a little bit of color here. Okay, and I'm going to dab in some color right there in the center. And then I'm going to take my dark Pretty in Pink Stampin' Blend. These are the alcohol markers. And I'm going to flick up some color over top of my Strawberry Slush and just above so that those colors will blend somewhat. They're not going to blend as much as they would if, but as I currently don't have them, you can purchase them, and I have, but they have not arrived. So in the meantime, switching to Pretty in Pink Light, and for these, I like to take the brush tip and go in toward the flower center so that my ink does not bleed outside. Okay, just going to flick that color in and blend those colors together. Okay, and that is my pink flower. Now for my blue flower here, I took, oh, sorry you guys, I'm not sure why that didn't go on live. She should not have been able to get through. Sorry for that interruption. Okay, so we've got Secret Sea here. I know that went on live. I'm not sure why she was able to get through. They have that preset for a live every Thursday at 7. Okay, so I did the same thing with that Secret Sea. And then we're going to go back with the Boho Blue and flick up. Okay. Just a little bit of color there. And then we'll take the light Boho Blue And I'm going to flick down into the center of the flowers. And blend those colors together. Okay. And then to finish that off, we're going to use the Darling Duckling. Or no, we're not. Yes, we are. I'm going to put some Darling Duckling here. Actually, I don't think I did that. Let's try it though. Some Darling Duckling in the center of this flower right here. And then we need the Timid Tiger. That's the one I needed to have out. And we're going to flick that in. Okay. Still a little bit there. And then we're going to go back with Peach Pie. I'm going to check the comments. Okay. So I'm going to take the dark peach pie, and again, I'm going to just go a little bit above where I put that Timid Tiger. I really like the way the Timid Tiger looks with the peach pie. And then we're going to finish that off, flicking out in the center of the flower. So that we don't go out of the lines. Just like that. Okay. So we've got that, and then we've got our Granny Apple Green here. We're going to start with the dark. And for this, just going to go along the line here and flick a little bit of dark there, around this flower here, there, around the base of the flower there, here, 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 a little bit there, go around the tip of that leaf, and then we'll finish that up with the light Granny Apple Green. And again, I'm going to flick backwards toward the center. Now, do you have to do it this way? No, I just find that I have better control if I do it this way. Okay. I need to get to the tip of that leaf. All right, and there is our flower colored. All right, so that is ready to be cut. Let's add, though, before we do that, a little bit of Wink of Stella, because why not? We have it, and it makes for beautiful additions. So we've got that. All right, let's pull out our mini machine here, and let's do a little bit of die cutting. So we're going to grab the Gallery Blooms die that fits this one. And we'll put that right here. Line that up. Put a piece of tape so it doesn't move. Stick that in our machine. Put our top plate on. Okay, we'll run that through. Set that aside. Then we're going to grab that piece of 2 3/4 by 4 1/4 inch piece that we stamped. And we're going to take that and the paper tag die. And we're going to use this large wavy one. And we're going to set this on here. And as you can see, it's a tight fit. But it will work. And it's going to give us what we want with very little waste. And it's really economical because you're cutting that at 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. So you can get several out of there. Okay, so that should, oh, no, yeah, that's all of our die cutting because I've already cut our label, our sentiment label. Okay, so here we go. So now we have this. Let's get these aside. And I want you to see, this is actually meant to be a tag. And so it cuts a heart out of the center. Now, we are going to pop that out of there. And we're going to hang on to that. Okay. And then we're going to set our die aside in a magnet tray. And we're going to bring in our cardstock that is Secret C. And we're going to start on the 8-inch side here. And we're going to score this at 3/4 of an inch. 6 1/2 inches. And 7 1/4 inches. There we go. Got a little bit of a thing. I'm just going to go to the bottom here, put that back in, and then I'll come back and smooth that with my bone folder. And then I'm going to turn this clockwise to the 8 5/8 inch side. And I'm going to score this at 3/4, 4 1/8, 4 7/8, and 8 1/4. Okay. And that is our scoring finished. So let's go ahead and burnish all of our score lines here. Oops. Okay. Then we're going to take our scissors, take our paper snips, and on this side, I've got the short little side here that, oh, I forgot to bone fold, and that ripped there, but that's fine because that's what we were going to cut it there anyway. I've not had that do that before. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to angle cut here at the bottom of those two on this long piece, and then I'm going to angle cut at the other end to that first score line, and then trim that up. And then I'm going to take these two sections off. Apparently that cardstock knew it was going to get cut anyway, and decided to just do it by itself. Okay. So on the bottom now, we've got our skinny piece. This is the glue tab and it's to the right. I'm going to go down to the bottom and I'm going to cut up on the larger rectangle straight to the first score line. Do the same thing over here, and that does not look like I scored it either, or burnished. Wow. So let's cut up straight on the rectangle there, and then we're going to angle cut on the squares out to the previous cut and remove those tiny little pieces. Okay, and then we're going to go over here, and on the large rectangle we're cutting straight up. Then we're going to angle cut and angle cut to the outside and take out those pieces. For the top here, we're going to cut down 2 score lines on these scores, cutting straight on those large rectangles. Okay, and then on this piece next to this skinny one, we're going to cut this at the second score line completely off over to that piece we just cut. Okay, we're going to remove those 2 sections. I'm going to fold this out of the way and we're going to cut off at the first score line here and here. All right. And then we're going to take a corner rounder and on the 2 corners here, we're going to round those corners. I must not be getting this in quite right. There we go. Okay, let's fix my corner here. Didn't quite round like I wanted it to. Okay, so we've got that, and then we're going to finish this up by slightly angle cutting on these little tuck tabs. And if you notice that you didn't cut this straight and that bothers you, give it a little trim. Okay, the last thing we need to do here is take a 1-inch circle punch. And we need to be careful because we don't want to go too far. We have a 3/4 of an inch tuck tab here. So we don't want to go in too far here. And we're going to go ahead and eyeball that. I'm just going to take just a bit, not a whole circle, not even a half a circle, about a third of a circle right there in the center as best I can. Okay, let's go ahead and flip this over, put on our designer series paper because it's easier to put it on while it's flat. Let's bring in that mixed media floral pattern. And this is going to be cut at 3 1/8 by 5 1/2. 3 1/8, measure twice, cut once, by 5 1/2. And we don't want to mess this up because this is my last piece of this pattern. I don't have any more. So hopefully we have done that correctly. Yay! And then we'll add this to our box. Okay. I'm just going to add this here. Oh, and we're going to bring back in that 1/2 inch piece that we cut off from the bottom of this because I had a 6-inch piece. And I'm just going to add this right up here. I'm not putting any paper on the sides of the box or the back of the box. I want the focus to be on my box front, which is this. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our tear and tape. So this is the front of our box. So we're going to add tear and tape to the bottom on the front. And then I'm going to save myself a headache. And I'm just going to use Stampin' Seal here and here on those two little tabs. And then I need to add tear and tape right here on this tab on the outside. And I want to run that up right along the score line there. Okay, let's give that a burnish and burnish. And then we'll take our Take Your Pick tool, pull off our backing there. And I'm going to fold this up and fold that down flat. Line those edges up, burnish that. Okay. And then we're going to remove, I'm going to go ahead and tuck this in. Okay. Then we'll remove the backing tape here. And you'll see why I didn't care about the tear and tape in a second. Because I'm going to take my back, this is the back of the box. I'm going to take that larger section with no tape. I'm going to fold in the sides with the Stampin' Seal. And then I'm going to fold it all down with the piece that has tear and tape. Okay, now this will perfectly fit a box of theater-sized Junior Mints, the 3.5 ounce box. I'm just going to slide that in there. Okay, and then we'll decorate the front of the box. So let's bring in this piece. And we're going to pop this piece up. So I'm going to take a Stampin' Dimensional and put it right where the heart meets there, inside that tag. And then I'll put some dimensionals in the 4 corners. And another one here. And we'll pop this up. And we are almost finished. Okay. Whoops. Let's go ahead and grab our piece here. I'm going to put this on here and try to center it. Okay. And then we're going to take our flower. All right, we're going to pop these up. Some dimensionals. This is a 3D project, so I don't need to worry about height. So I'm going to add some minis here just to give it a little bit more stability on those leaves. Add this to our box front. Depending on how you lay it, it probably doesn't matter about the put this about right here-ish. Whoops, I'm going to gently set that down so I can move it if I need to. We're going to grab our sentiment piece. I should have probably waited a little bit longer to put that down, but I think this is going to be okay. I want this to go right over the top of this, like so. Actually, let's move this. I put it down ever so gently so I could pop that. I'm just going to leave that until we're ready. Okay, so I want this to be boho blue. So we're going to bring in our scrap pad. Well, if I can figure out what I did with it. Here we go. We're going to take the dark boho blue Stampin' Blend. Now, remember, if you still have boho blue cardstock and you'd rather cut 2 of these, you may. If you have the Stampin' Blend marker, I find it easier to just cut 1 and take my brush tip and color in my edges there. Okay, now let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment. Which is "You're a True Blessing." I'm just going to set this in here. And we're going to use the Secrecy ink. I cut myself 2 of these just in case I mess this up, because ordinarily you would probably want to stamp first and then die cut. But for the sake of time, we're going to do it this way. And there we go. That looks really good. Now we can take this and this, and we're going to flip these over together. We're going to take our mini dimensionals. Oh, before we do that, let's make these one. Decide how we're going to do this. Okay, so we're going to put dimensionals in this bottom corner here, top corner here, and bottom corner here. And that should be sufficient, I think, to hold that all together. Put that in there like that. Now we can put, we don't want to do that yet though, because we want to stick that stem below here. I'm going to put our flower in here now. Put this on and stick that on there. Take these off. And add this. Oops, not quite where I want to be. Trying to just put this right up against the bottom there. There we go. Just like so. And that actually stuck. Let's add another dimensional in there because that dimensional actually stuck to the stem. So we'll just add another one in here to hold that down nice and flat. Okay. So now we're going to take a piece of, this is a brand new product, the gold striped mesh ribbon. This is 3/8 of an inch. It's a lot like the iridescent trim that we have, although the iridescent trim is 1/2 inch, but this is 3/8. And we're going to take this, I've got a piece, I've cut it in half lengthwise. And then we're going to tie a bow, a double bow actually, our bow jig. And then we're going to add that to our box, add our gems, and this project will be finished. Okay. So we'll take a glue dot and we'll add this to the glue dot, the ribbon to the glue dot. And then I'll take my tweezers and pinch that glue dot around the ribbon. And then I'm going to put this right up here in the corner over the stem there. Trim off those ends. Let's get our gems. We're using the iridescent foil gems. I thought those were a nice touch with the gold in the ribbon. So we're going to take these and we'll take a small one and a larger one, like so. And then we'll put this one right there. And there is our treat box. Now the idea that I had for this is that you could use it for Mother's Day, because your mother is a true blessing. And of course, if you no longer have, your mother is no longer alive, then you can give it to a friend. There we go, theater size candy. Of course, you could decorate this however you want and give it as a gift. All right, everybody, if you like this video tonight, be sure to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, I would appreciate it if you do. Hit the like notification or that bell notification so you'll be notified every time I upload a video and or go live. And I hope to see you back here next Thursday night at 7 p.m. with more projects. Thanks so much. Have a great night. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.